have a little talk for you guys today about creating on multiple levels and imposter syndrome. And they are so interrelated. And what I mean by creating on multiple levels is we're creating, every single one of us, our reality, what we see, what we're priming our brain and nervous system and subconscious to see by what we believe, and letting those beliefs bubble up into our thoughts, and those thoughts determine our actions. And so if we're thinking about our subconscious beliefs, what we believe about ourselves, what we can and can't do, that is in direct correlation with what we actually do and what we're actually able to achieve, right? So you could call it manifestation, you could call it confirmation bias, you could call it the reticular activating system. It's all of those things. But at a base level, what we see in our reality, we all have a million bits of data coming to us at every moment. So why do we see the same things every single day? Why do we notice the same evidence to confirm every single day? Because how our system works is for efficiency, right? And if you're getting results that you don't want to be getting, you are undermining yourself. We could call it self-sabotage. That's a very clear indication that the beliefs that you're holding about yourself, what's possible, how you're priming your nervous system and brain to see the world is out of congruence with what you're wanting to create or manifest, or the results that you're wanting to see. Okay, so what we're subconsciously believing is going to be what our brain notices, right? So if we believe the world is a terrible and scary place, then we are going to see every incident to confirm our schema or bias about how the world is. Where if we think people are mostly good, we're going to notice different things. We're going to notice when we see someone giving to the homeless, or someone being really nice, doing someone a solid, someone offering us help, and we'll accept it if our base belief is that people are mostly good, right? Letting River in. Hello, River. I'm talking about how our beliefs manifest and how we're creating our reality from subconscious beliefs. So what I was saying is that whatever we believe is going to be what we notice, not that it's actually reality, right? There is some reality out there, and there is evidence in science and spirituality and psychology that we don't have very good access to it, because we're all seeing the world through our perception and filtering it through our past, right? So there is some reality out there, we think, but we don't have direct access to that. And I'll get a little bit into the science. Basically, when we're born, like, everything is fuzz, right? Babies can't even see our face. They can't understand what we're saying. And we start to create patterns. And those patterns carry us through our life, at least in these bodies. You know that I follow Buddhism the most closely. I do believe in reincarnation, but at least as long as we're in these bodies, what happened usually before we're 5 is kind of coloring the whole world and deciding what we see. And why I'm saying this to you today is because what we believe subconsciously is what is driving our thoughts that come up, and what is coloring what we see in reality. If we think subconsciously, I am not enough, then we are consciously going to notice every reiteration of us not being enough. Every time someone says no, every time we don't get the result, and we are going to turn the volume up on that, and we're going to turn the volume down on every bit of evidence that we can have what we want, that people do like us, that people will help us. And so if we think about this, what do we want to do if we want success? If we want to see different results, if we want to grow our business, what we need to do, right, is change the volume on this imposter syndrome, this not enoughness, turn it down, and subconsciously and consciously start to turn the volume up on the evidence that it is working and start to train both our conscious and our subconscious to go into different beliefs. And why is this so hard, right? Is the obvious question from this. Why is this so hard, Emily? Well, our bodies and minds, our whole system, hasn't really developed evolutionarily to make us happy. Unfortunately, it's done what it can to keep us alive, right? And so left to its own devices without any retraining, redirecting, our system is primed to move away from pain, yes, towards pleasure, but primarily move away from pain. So anything new is a potential threat, even if it isn't life-threatening. We react like it's life-threatening when we change. And this is where nervous system regulation comes in. This is where consciously we can start to notice those things coming up in our body, where every thought actually starts, and start to be comfortable-ish being uncomfortable. Because it is, when we change our beliefs, when we change our self-perception, when we change our schemas, it is uncomfortable. We have to relearn how to function in a different kind of reality. But, right, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. It's actually harder, right? If you look back at your life, it's harder to hold these seeds of I want this and not do anything, and have that loom over your head, keep you up at night, keep journaling it out. I want this, I want this, I want this, and not do it. When you start to get into the creative flow, start to get into the flow of manifest destiny, is the old way people used to say this, start to get into the flow of taking conscious and subconscious action towards what you want, you notice that yes, it's uncomfortable, but it was actually more uncomfortable to want something and beat yourself up in your head, right? And to want something and talk yourself out of it and be a jerk to yourself in your own head, like having this beautiful vision and letting yourself stay over here and make excuses, right? Because it keeps coming up. If something is calling you again and again and again, it's going to keep coming up, and it ends up being regret and more painful in the long run. So what to do, right? We do a lot of work. The whole course area is on things you can do consciously to make money. And what I've seen so many times is those subconscious beliefs. People don't like me. I don't know how to talk to people in the DMs. I can't make a sale. Oh, other people are better than me. They're further along. One, don't compare your step 1 or 2 to someone's step 1,000. But also, if we don't start to work on what we are believing and the thoughts coming from those beliefs, then we don't even bother to do the conscious stuff, because we know that's not going to work, that's for someone else, right? And that's what we're telling ourselves. That's not going to work. That's going to take all of my time. That's going to do this. It's not going to work for me because I am not enough. And so to bring into congruence, to bring into alignment, we really want to have a practice, whether it be journaling or meditation or hypnosis or yoga, to start to make space to connect with ourselves. And if we can think of it as a movie, slow down those thoughts. Maybe some people are audio, so it could be a record. Slow down the record, slow down the movie, and look at that belief that is manifesting as thoughts, that is manifesting as action we do or don't take. And this is very related to imposter syndrome, right? Because if we're believing that everyone else is better than us, we're going to start to compare ourselves to every single person and think, I'm not that, right? But we're not really anything beyond like consciousness in a meat sack. I know so many people hate when you say that, but we're in a vessel, right? Our body and mind is a vessel. That energy, consciousness, is flowing through and is being filtered through our past experiences and what we believe about the world. And so if we think about this, that I'm like consciousness, I'm energy, I'm awareness flowing through a vessel, then if we think of our business, we're playing a role for our people, right? We're playing a role of an intimacy coach, not that we're perfect, never yell at anyone, never get upset, never avoid anyone, but we're playing a role for the people that need our help. Right? We are playing a role. And when we think about that, I am not the role, but I can play this and I'm going to play it full out. It starts to make it a little bit easier because then there isn't separation like, oh, I'm not perfect. I need to run away and hide. When we understand that we're taking on what we need to serve our people the best, then we can kind of keep that part of us that is still growing, will be growing, at least for this lifetime, if you think we only live once, or for many, many lifetimes until we figure out how to exit this loop. If we think of it that way, then we can act as if we are already able to do it and start to change our beliefs. So everything that we're doing, we're creating on a subconscious and conscious level. If we're putting it out there, everything we're definitely creating subconsciously. Some of us will limit and put a cap on what we consciously create because of our subconscious creations are holding us back, creating a cage around us that say, hey, you can only go this high. You're only able to access this amount of success, right? And our beliefs are putting that cap on us. So what to do about it? You could power through and just force yourself to create, right? And I know from experience and people repeating the same things that that's sometimes doable and sometimes can create that evidence, right? But also if we can come into the belief that we're already enough and journal it out, yoga it out, meditate it out, dance it out, whatever we need to do to regulate our nervous system, regulate our subconscious beliefs to enoughness, then we can create in a way that feels in alignment, feels incongruent, right? Okay, so let me know if you have any questions about that. I know it sounds really woo-woo, but it is scientific, actually. That's how our system works. And it's kind of woo-woo because I brought reincarnation into it. You don't need to believe in reincarnation. Even if we only live once, we are still manifesting, confirming whatever we subconsciously believe about ourselves, about the world, and what we can or can't have. And someone probably in their head is like, Emily, but what about the people of Iran? We're kind of like, right, collectively, this is scientific fact now too, that we're all connected energetically or through energy, right? So it's like a group manifestation, unfortunately, about what a lot of people believe about the world and how we have to survive. We're not going to get into epigenetics, the inheriting of, we're not going to get into it. We could get into epigenetics. It's basically how, so we're all born with certain genes, right? And they won't necessarily turn on. But if my mom went through trauma before I was born, then her genes for a hyperactive nervous system turn on and get passed down to me. We don't need to get super far into that. So sometimes though, we're healing things that didn't even happen to us, right? Beliefs that we inherited from our grandparents from, I don't know, generations ago, if no one healed it. But it's really cool. And science is meaning so much up with the woo these days. What's really cool is when we heal that in ourselves. If we were to have kids after, we heal it for them too. So I sometimes have grandiose thoughts. So sometimes it's helpful to be like, I'm not just doing this for me, I'm doing this for my people, which is also where that thinking of playing a role comes in. Like, okay, if I can't do it for myself, sometimes it is valid to do it for someone else. A lot of people are like, you can only change for yourself, but we know that's untrue. A lot of people change when they have kids or they get into a relationship that they don't want to lose, and they realize that their patterns or beliefs are not going to serve and keep this relationship. and they change. So we can change for ourselves. We can change for others. We can change for whatever we want. We can change for our business. And just because it is uncomfortable in the moment doesn't necessarily mean that it's out of alignment. It just means that we're asking more of ourselves, right? So I hope that helps for someone that is like, I can't do this. I'm not enough. Everyone else is better than me. One is not true. Comparing, you can almost put horse blinders on, stop looking at this evidence that someone is further along. Sure, they're further along, but you're comparing a step 1,000 to a step 1 or a step 2 or a step 4, right? And doing that is going to take a lot of the juice even out of the journey. Like if you're trying to get to the destination, since River is here, I'm thinking about sex. If you're trying to just get to the orgasm, then you're going to miss all the juiciness of that intimate connection of getting to talk, getting to pet each other, getting to connect deeply, getting to stare into each other's eyes. And you're going to miss the whole connection if your focus is only on the outcome of whatever you're doing, the orgasm. So not only is comparing your step 1 to someone's step 1,000 going to make this harder, it's going to take out the joy in the journey. And I think most of us can relate to some experience where we get to the outcome and we realize the journey was the joy, right? That's most of life. The joy is in the process, not the outcome. And so when we can realize that, then our step 1 or step 2, step 3 can be like that foreplay. So let me know if this makes sense. And that's all I have to say about that for now.